So one of the things that I say on that, and it kind of goes along with that cliche that probably everybody has heard, that you won't replace accountants, but if you don't know how to use it, it will replace you. And I think that that's true. And I think that what that means, what does that really mean? It means that you need to focus on truly becoming an expert at this stuff.
Hello and welcome back to another new episode of my CP1 podcast. I'm your host Nitisha Jain, and today we have a very special guest with us, someone who has not only mastered the US tax world but has also been inspiring learners around the globe through his teaching. Please join me in welcoming Jason Dinesen, an enroll agent and one of our most dedicated educator at MyCPE1. Hey Jason, it's such a pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you for taking time to join this conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you, Nitisha.
How are you doing?
I'm doing quite well. How about you?
I'm also good. Thank you. Jason, I would like to ask you something really great, like becoming an EA not only gives professional credibility, right, but also opens financial opportunities. How has this credential helped you grow financially and as an individual?
Yeah, well, I guess I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but I should probably answer that by going back in time a little bit so that your listeners know what my story is for how I arrived here, because that really will answer the question that you asked. So long ago, I'm older than you would think, Natisha, especially for those who watch the video and I've got the buzz cut look. I look like an old man here, but
No,
I've been
you're
around
not
for a
that
while.
changed. No, you don't look that much changed or old. Trust me.
Well,
I've
I
seen your old
appreciate you.
videos.
I appreciate you saying that, but I've been around longer than you would think. And many years ago, I actually was a journalist. So I was working in a totally different field. And I got burned out on that and started looking at what my options were. And I'd always had a love of numbers. And so I thought, well, I'll go back and become an accountant. And the original goal for me was to be a CPA. And so I went back to school to get my 150 hours that you have to have in the United States to sit for the CPA exam. But along the way, I discovered something, which is when you're a little bit older, coming into the accounting field, that can be it's not impossible, but it can be more difficult to break in to the accounting field by getting your CPA, because you also have apprenticeship hours and such that you have to get. And a lot of firms, at least where I was at, preferred to hire younger people just out of college for those roles. And so me as like a 30-year-old coming into it, I had a little different background. And I discovered that I had a love of taxes of all things, which is really strange, I suppose. But some people, my tax class was my favorite class, and I started investigating other options. And in the tax textbooks that colleges use, enrolled agents are hardly mentioned at all. Like they might literally be mentioned maybe twice in the ethics section of the book, which a lot of times they don't even get to because it's the very last chapter in the book. But I found this designation and I started investigating it. And I decided to go for it. And you know what? Here we are. All these years later, 2009, it was summer of 2009 is when I took the exams. And even back then, we went to Prometric, just like people do today, and sat and took the exam, 3 different parts and all that. And it was late September of 2009 when I got my EA card. Yeah. And so how has it helped me financially or to build a business? I mean, I think that it does a few things. I think it gives you confidence. If you're not licensed or you don't have any designations and you go through this and become an enrolled agent, it just gives you confidence to put yourself out there, whatever it is you want to do. If you're going to run your own firm or try to get a job someplace else, I know there's a lot of listeners in India who are seeking the enrolled agent designation. It makes you more marketable in the job market. Whatever it is that you're trying to do, being an EA will help you, and it's more attainable than CPA. And I know you might ask about that. I know I talked about that in some other places with some things that we've done. EA, CPA, that can get kind of touchy sometimes, but it's not really a competition, and it's not really saying that EA is easier. It's more that it's more attainable to become an enrolled agent. That's a really long answer to your question,
Oh,
Nitisha, but I felt like
no.
I had to go back to kind of come forward and answer the question.
The entire flashback would have come to your mind. That's why I was not stopping you, or I was not saying, even I was enjoying your journey. That was really great. And it's really inspiring to hear how the EA has shaped your journey. And I'm sure many of our listeners are also curious about the possibilities this credential can unlock. Now, Jason, my another question to you would be, what kind of career choices open up after becoming an EA? Let's say one person chooses to go into practice, while another prefers working in a firm. Could you highlight the diverse roles and industries EAs can explore?
Yeah, so if you want to do what I did, which is just start preparing tax returns, um, like I said, it gives you confidence to do so, but it also gives you credibility as well. So you can hold yourself out there as a licensed professional. And in the world of taxation, an enrolled agent has the same rights and privileges as CPAs and attorneys when it comes to dealing with the IRS and all things tax related. So I feel like it gives you the credibility and the confidence if you're going to go into business for yourself. If you want to work for a firm, it makes you marketable in their tax department in any
Yeah.
function from tax preparation to on up to things like representation work. There are enrolled agents who never prepare a tax return. All that they do is representation work, where representation work means someone is being audited by the IRS or they have a dispute with the IRS, a conflict. And enrolled agents and CPAs and attorneys have unlimited rights when defending taxpayers in an audit or other dispute with the government.
Okay, that's nice. That's really nice. And as we are speaking about opportunities, the future is changing fast. And one big buzzword everywhere is AI. So everyone's talking about AI shaking up the tax world. How do you see role of an EA evolving over the next 5 to 10 years? And you as an educator, how are you preparing learners to stay relevant and create value in this changing landscape?
So one of the things that I say on that, and it kind of goes along with that cliche that probably everybody has heard, that it won't replace accountants, but if you don't know how to use it, it will replace you.
Yes, yes,
And
absolutely.
yeah, and I think that that's true. And I think that what that means, what does that really mean? It means that you need to focus on truly becoming an expert at this stuff because AI is not really going to replace a knowledgeable professional. What it
Yes.
will do is if you get it, see, if we go back in time again, I started with three clients in 2009.
Okay.
And grew to, at one time, I prepared 225 tax returns. That was in 2020. So,
Oh,
yeah, you could do that. I think that that's going to be more difficult now because a lot of, quote, just tax preparation, AI is probably going to take over a lot of that. And so I think that if your goal is to do tax preparation, I think that that's going to be difficult. But if your goal is to do tax preparation combined with a higher level of thinking about taxes so that you can do advisory and planning and strategy, that is going to really, that's going to basically turbocharge your marketing for yourself, your marketability and your job opportunities, because clients are hungry for that. They want
correct.
that. And you can just prepare their tax return, but you're never going to make much money doing that. And you're always going to be at risk of AI replacing
Mhm.
you. Whereas if
Yes.
someone said, another presenter one time said that US tax law is probably the most difficult law in the United States for sure, maybe even in the entire world. And
Mhm.
so I think it's going to be difficult for AI to really replace a knowledgeable tax pro. And so if you can learn the law and how to apply it, because no two people's situation is the same, if you could do that, you'll survive and thrive in an AI world.
Yes. I think that's such a valuable perspective on the future. And also, Jason, we have truly global audience here at MyCP1. For someone outside the US who may not fully understand the scope of the EA designation, why is it a credential worth pursuing globally? And what advice would you give to professionals deciding between CPA or EA in today's this changing financial landscape? I know you gave us a hint before, but again, I would like to ask this question separately, as it will give a clear picture for our audience, be it Indian, be it global, to choose between both the paths.
Well, I think it gets back to what I said about the EA designation being attainable. You can get it. Whereas the CPA designation, I mean, obviously people in India or wherever become CPAs. You could do it. I think it's more difficult, though, if you're not in the United States to become a CPA. Now, some of the rules, each state in the United States is different because each state issues the CPA designation. There are quite a few states that have been loosening, like relaxing some of the rules to make it a little easier to be a CPA. But you still have a lot of hoops to jump through. Whereas for EA, there are fewer hoops to jump through. And so I think that's really, to me, the big draw of EA. And I know you didn't ask this, but I'll say it, as people might be worried that, oh, I've never prepared a tax return before in the United States. That actually will not hurt you on the exam. In fact, I think that sometimes it might be more difficult if you do have experience preparing tax returns, because you read a question on the exam. If you have experience with things, the first thing you're going to do is start asking questions about, well, what about this? And what about this? And what about this?
Yes.
Whereas if you don't have that background, you'll do what you need to do, which is just read the question and take it at face value, whatever facts you're given in the
Correct.
question, and just answer the question. So in some
Yeah, the
ways, I
first thing
think
that
that,
will come in our head, we just write, we'll just write that part, and we'll not think the maybe that could be the answer. Oh, maybe that could be the answer.
Exactly. You just read the question and whatever information you're given, just use that. So that's why I say sometimes if you don't have a background in tax already, it might be easier for you as you're learning the material and taking the exam because you won't have all of that stuff in your mind of all the different directions it could go.
Absolutely. Wow, this has been such an enlightening conversation. I enjoyed it a lot. Thank you for sharing your journey, your insights, and your vision for the future of the EA profession. And to all our listeners, if you have been considering the EA path, I hope today's episode gave you the motivation and the clarity that you need. Remember, the right credential can transform not just your career, but also the way you see yourself as a professional. So, thank you for tuning in to the My CP1 podcast. Stay inspired, keep learning, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much, Jason, and thank you, everyone.